Raise your hand if you have the question, and we'll try to get to you as soon as we can.
This one right over here in the middle.
Shepard, just start choosing people. Or shout it out. Maybe that works.
Can you talk about your journey before you said you left art school? Can you kind of talk about the in-between time, what got you through, or what motivated you, or advice?
That was tough. So, I'm going to say it as nice as I can. I was asked to leave. And that was tough for me because I spent a lot of years in high school being excited about going to a place where I thought I was going to fit in more. And I got really into graffiti because I was in awe and wonder of taking the subway to school, and I would see these giant pieces that were off of the subway cars. And so if my parents see the video, they're going to find out I was cutting school and I was jumping fences because I was just blown away by the scale of it. And so I got sucked into that, and I made that a priority, and that was just not a priority for the institution. And so I was asked to go a different direction, which is okay. But the first several years after that were really tough. And to be honest, I was upset. I still worked because I'm kind of a workaholic, and I can't stop producing things. But it was tough to find that childlike wonder that I always had about doing art. And I was doing all these different random things. I'm drawing graffiti subway trains and stuff like that, which were totally not relevant to Kansas City, and mimicking things that I was into. And I remember stopping, and it's funny because recapturing what I was into as a kid is what made me find my art again. And so I asked myself the question, what was it that really got me into art in the first place? And there were two main things. It was when I lived overseas, my parents would always take me to all these crazy zoos, or we would, be on a drive-through safari somewhere out there in the Middle East and seeing crazy animals. And I would come home even after scuba diving in Eilat off of the Mediterranean, and I would just feverishly draw fish or draw all these different animals, and that brought me the most joy. And so did Garfield, because because my grandma would mail me Garfield books, so you can kind of see some of the eyeball influence from Jim Davis. But for a while I was upset, and I just really didn't know what to do, and it was asking myself the question of what was it that brought me the most joy. So I started drawing animals, and I started with the rhino. And to get really conceptual for a minute, is what I opened up, I was instantly attracted to the rhino and started reading up on it, and their long-term or long-distance vision is screwed up. And I instantly identified with that because I thought that I was going to graduate from school and go and be an animator, and I wanted to do something that was related to kids. I would see kids watch a movie, a Disney movie or something like that, and be transported and in wonder, and I was like, that's what I want to capture, is those feelings. So I looked at that rhino, and the rhinos couldn't see very far, and my entire future was blurry for the first time. And so I started drawing him as my art therapy. And then the bees kind of came into it. You may have seen a lot of bees around there in my murals. And at the time when I first started drawing the bees, they represented peer pressure. And so I was feeling a lot of pressure from the Art Institute because straight up, they told the vice president and another major player in there told me that what I did was not art to my face. And so that robbed me of a lot of stuff. And, I had to figure out how to get back. So the bees were kind of that stinging, feeling that was still left over. And then I had a lot of friends who wanted me to go out and do other things. I was trying to recapture my career and recapture my direction. And I had a lot of friends that were telling me, hey, we should go out and party and do something. And I'm trying to feverishly work at home and recapture my direction for me, so that I could also gain better favor, with my parents that were disappointed at the time of where I'd put my priorities and stuff. And I wanted to kind of try to get myself on track. And so I even saw my friends as peer pressure because they would say let's go out and drink. And after time, after I started to mellow out, I just realized that all they wanted was some fellowship to like hang out with me for a time, and I didn't need to see it always as something that was like attacking me. But that's where I was because I was wounded from the Art Institute. And so I kind of worked through that by drawing this rhino and these bees, where the bees were constantly trying to get the rhino to be part of this hive mentality and think like them. And I refused to let anybody tell me that the type of work I did just because I was using spray paint was not art. And so I was going to fight through that. And so I just started painting around Westport. And to be honest, like, there was a huge part of my motivation was to make sure that those people drove by it every day.
Not anything against the people that are walking out, but I do want to say that we are going to hang tight here longer because this is going to be pretty awesome Q&A, and we started a little bit later, and we have the venue, and we can keep going. So if you can, stay. If you can't, we get it. We'll see you.
Yeah. I wonder where they're going.
Yeah. But we get it. So feel free, kind of, to leave. Keep going. Questions? You can shout it out if you want to, just at this point. Yeah.
I've got a question about, I'm always interested about the partnership between the artist and the organization or the company.
Mm-hmm.
Did you approach Children's Mercy Hospital, or did they find you?
So, because I didn't graduate, getting a job was difficult. And that's been kind of a crazy battle. It's had its pluses and minuses. And I worked in the sign industry, which is what educated me on all of the large format printing, thank God. And the people that I worked with in the different sign shops taught me how to use computers because I was missing that from school. And then I was able to apply my drawings the right way because a lot of wrong files and bad art and bad files come into those kinds of digital printing places. So I got a chance to learn how to do it the right way. I got a chance to learn how to do the machines. Then you fast forward a couple years, and I just wasn't getting paid enough to start a family. And so I was doing installations at Children's Mercy, and there was a guy that was the head of facilities named Carl Palermo, who was an angel. I came in to do an install, and I had spray paint all over me, and I looked like kind of a scrub. But we had a funny banter that would go back and forth, and he said, "You look terrible, and when you come in here, you need to look a little nicer." And because he's a smart aleck too, I said, "Well, I would love to see some better murals around here. So when you get some better murals around here, I'll wear whatever you want and look like you." And so. He said he didn't know that I did artwork at that time. I wasn't really sharing that. I was just working. And so I brought in my portfolio and showed it to him. And it took a couple years to get on because as much as what you see at Children's Mercy, 17 years ago, it was mostly done through donations. And so he said, "I can hire you as a maintenance painter." And I said, "Cool, because I need insurance. My wife and I want to have a kid. I need a big boy job. And I know how to roll walls because I've rolled lots of walls, whether people wanted me to or not." So I started working there, but he told me on the first day, because he understood Children's Mercy and had been there for a long time, he said, "This is not going to be your job, but I need you to stick with me and do what you don't want to do." And so I did that for about 6 months, and I painted my first mural outside, what was the old ER, and I spray painted it all, and it went really fast, and it was bigger and more colorful than anything that had popped up there before. And then people started asking questions. And so several years went by, and I just patiently served because I was so grateful to be doing something that aligned with my personal mission of doing stuff for kids. And I was providing for my family, but honestly, like a lot of people, get paid more. And just serving and being there and also breaking a stereotype, because when I got hired there, one of the VPs, the guy said, "This is Scribe, he's an artist." And the first thing out of his mouth is, "So you're a flake." And so I looked at him, and it was like, I mean, it was my first day. There's a part, like the street side of me was like, and then I was like, "Oh, my kids," you know, like, but I made a conscious decision at that point. Was a lot of creatives, unfortunately, have this stigma on them about being flaky people, when really it's just a communication difference and a lack of understanding of the amount of work and effort that goes into doing creative stuff. And so I said, I'm going to change your mind and I'm going to change your heart. And so that's what I did for years. And then that guy was the one, along with the guy that hired me, that showed up one day, and he was a hard person. And he said, I don't think we're paying you the right amount, and I don't think that your job is right. And I said, finally I was bold and said, "You're right," you know. And he said, "So where do we got to look? Because there's no, I'm the only person in the country that works full-time for a hospital, so they can't go do a comparison. And this is totally out of their thought pattern and idea. Where do I go?" And I'd done some work for Hallmark, and this great lady over there named Joan Orth, I'd done a project for her, and they called her and said, "What do we do?" And the lady, Joan, was like, "Oh my God, why did it take you so long?" And so she was so forward with them, and they came back and were like, "Whoa, we had no idea." And I still wasn't even totally sharing a lot of what I was doing outside of the hospital, and a bunch of dots started connecting for them, because I just would go to work and do my thing, and then I would go spray paint somewhere else. And I think all of a sudden they understood a bigger picture, and Carl changed my life.
The great question here is, I wonder if we have the patience to do like you did. It's crazy. I'm just going through that myself. Several more questions. Go for it.
I wanted to point out for anyone who doesn't know that you wrote a book, that you have a book, and wanted to say how much we appreciate it in our family, because it's been able to connect your murals and really bring them to life with our son.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask how the book came about, and if you will do any more.
I'd like to do some more. The people at Andrews and McMeel reached out to me. I think they noticed like some of my social media presence had kind of blossomed, which blows me away, like every day, like how it keeps growing. That was how they found me. I was told that there was a bunch of people from Andrews and McMeel that were following me on Instagram. And then they came to me and they said, "Have you ever wanted to do that?" And I said, "Well, it's been a huge passion of mine for a while." And so we sat down and collaborated on a book, and I had to fight for certain things that I wanted to have in there, just like any project like that. My fight was to make sure and keep it weird, because there's a part in there where the kids are riding these like giant hamsters. Again, I don't know why I don't even like hamsters, like, but I like how dumb they look, but because they look like my dogs. But they would ask me questions. It was interesting that I would be asked these questions like, "Well, why are we doing that? Like, why not make it a horse or something, or even a seahorse, so that the word horse is in there?" And they would ask me, "Why are you doing that?" And I would really frustrate them with the answer, and I'd say, "Because it's stupid." And they would be like, "It has to make sense to you." And I go, "You're not buying it." And the kid needs to enjoy it. And even though it hasn't broke out and gone crazy, everybody that I've been told that has read it has said that that's what captured their kids, was some of the odd placements of things and them wondering if that stuff could really happen. And I've been really lucky to hear, really good reviews of it. I have ideas for other stories, but they haven't reached out to me, and I haven't pushed too hard on trying. I've been busy doing other things, but I'd like to. It's called the Scribble Squad, and Rumpus is in it, the rhino character, and we created a couple other characters, and they represent some real strong personality types in kids, and they're trying to collaborate on a mural. Things don't work out so well. Grandpa comes out with this magic paint, and they start working on the mural together the wrong way, and they're sucked into the mural. And so they have to figure out how to get back to Kansas City. So it's on Amazon, and I think I'll have some backup on my website here pretty soon.
Let's try to grab 3 more. See if we can do that. Scribe, are you good with time?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm great.
So did you ever look at a mural, like just pass by a finished one and just think you could do it and come back at it sometime and redo it?
Yeah, I mean, that's unfortunately, like, I think a lot of creatives are gonna probably say that every time that's a good question, first off. And I think a lot of creatives do that. Like, sometimes it feels like you're never done. Like, has that ever happened with you with a drawing, where you work on a drawing, maybe you like turn it into school, and then you get a good grade on it, and then you look back at it again, and you're like, oh, but I could have done this and added a little bit more on, and that'll never go away. So if that's what you're doing, you'll never be satisfied, and that's a good thing. It's always like wondering about like how you can improve, how you can add on to that. So I've done that on murals. The Love Kansas City one, I've been forced into changing a couple things because people have decided to be nice and add stuff for me. And then other times I've gone and added a couple things on there. But I think we got it to where it's at for now, because we graffiti coded it, so which is pretty ironic. What's that?
Sometimes I try to do my pictures better than before, and then I realize I'll do it in a couple.
Yeah,
I wish I could restart it.
I overdo it all the time. I'm trying to like sit there and like render and do all the highlighting and stuff, and then next thing you know, I can't see my outline anymore, and I'm like, I don't even see a fish in there anymore, or whatever I'm doing. So, but you're gonna figure it out. Is there any other?
Any other? I can't tell. Go for it.
You mentioned a lot that your paintings have childlike features in them. How has your children impacted your perspective in creating art?
They keep recentering me on that. So as my career has grown and there's like a certain amount of pressure to like perform a certain way, I find myself accidentally like evolving into an adult. Because then like this formula starts coming out where I feel like if that's what they hired me for, then this is what I need to deliver, and this is what I need to be known for. And Elijah and Jonah both still sit down and draw silly little drawings and stuff. In particular, my youngest, Jonah, who's 12, and he just draws for like pure love and enjoyment. And I've been blessed that I keep getting busier, and everything can start becoming about finishing a project for somebody else. But when I go out and paint by myself in an alleyway, it's kind of like Jonah drawing in his sketchbook. I take no drawings with me, and I just literally do it for like watching. I'm just like zoomed in on the paint coming out onto the wall and like trying to like recapture that. So I think that you have to rewind, you have to like kind of remind yourself and rewind back to that, because success could choke it out.
After you were turned away from college, what kept you in Kansas City?
Good question. Because when I moved here from Boston, I was used to getting on the bus every 5 minutes and like going downtown and finding something to do. And my roommate was from Chicago, and I remember walking out to Main Street in 1993, and we stepped up to the bus stop, and I waited for a while, and I was like, where is the bus? And it never came, and like 45 minutes went by, and we finally get on. We head downtown, and we get to the downtown loop down there where they turn around, and I'm getting ready to get off, and the bus driver goes, are you sure you want to get out? And I just looked at him and I was like, man, you don't know me. I'm from Boston. Like, I can handle this. Like, you're judging me. I didn't realize it was because nothing was down there. So, except for some interesting zombies and stuff. But so then we just started walking back from downtown through the crossroads, which was like nothing but like automotive shops and warehouses and stuff, and made our way all the way back to the Art Institute and realized that the Art Institute and the plaza, and occasionally if I want to get wild and go to the like Crown Center, was like my bubble. But the city has grown. The other part of that is my wife. So my wife is a graduate of the Art Institute from the fiber department, so she was smart enough to finish, and does amazing work. She sometimes makes my stuff in plush animals and makes a lot of her own like really amazing work. But she's a Midwest girl. I'm a mover, and the right woman will definitely make you do whatever she wants you to do. And she's that person. So if that's what she asked me to do, I was going to give her everything that I could, and it's been 27 years now since then. So that combined with Kansas City turning into like a really small little rock star of a city and watching it grow, parts that I like and parts that I don't like, but the life is really cool to see coming there, and to watch that landscape from the Art Institute all the way to downtown change as much as I have is like kind of feeding me with hope, and sometimes makes me want to run. But it's kind of a roller coaster of emotions. But the cool thing is that there's life, and there was nothing like this going on. And the downtown and having all that stuff come spring to life, like this is a testament to like where a lot of you guys might even be working in some of those buildings now.
All right, one last. You got it.
Obviously, you imagine all the time. So pick one. Have you picked a building in Kansas City that you would love to cover with your artwork?
Oh, man. Yeah, I think right now it's not necessarily a building, but I would like to do something. I'd like to go a little bigger and do something that peeks over the landscape, if possible. So, if there was a project that came up and we could look from Hospital Hill towards downtown, or maybe even from the city market, and the city was open to having something that dumb be like that big, then and something funny, because I really like making laughter and like seeing people walk up and smile from that stuff. And if we could do something on that scale where it peered over, I'd be open to any wall.
All right, big hand.
Thank you very much.
This was great.
Appreciate it.
This was great.
Thank you.